Jason, how are you, sir?
So how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Looking forward to it.
How's your uh how's your Wednesday coming along?
It feels like it should be Friday. It's been a long week, but good overall. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I actually just came back from a short spring break for my kids, right? So we decided
Excellent.
to do just a very short took a very short break. But the problem with these things, as you know it, is that it just piles up,
Yeah, yeah. It
right?
never it
And
never
like
stops.
yeah, and I'm like just worried and we have client engagement starting and so it's just
Yeah, you need a break from the
too
break.
many things going on. I had literally told my wife, I'm like, I need a break from my break.
Yeah, yeah. I always found like if you have a too short, then yeah, then it just can like then you have a really busy week right before and after, right? Everything gets
Yes,
condensed
and that's
down.
exactly what happened. I only took like Wednesday to Friday, right? And
Yeah,
we had a client engagement end on that Tuesday. So it's mad rush. Hey, Brian.
okay.
Um, and then we came back on Saturday or Sunday, and ever since then I've been scrambling.
Yeah, I found that it works to take a longer break because then after a certain while, people realize they can't get a hold of it, and if it's not important, like then it will fall off the
100%.
radar. But if it's too
100%.
short, then it just
Yes.
doesn't fall off.
Perfect. Um, Brian, thanks for joining. You ready?
I am.
Awesome. Um, it's 11:59, so we're a bit early. So let's wait. I love it when people join early. Oh, good. Ravi's joining too, or at least his note taker's joining. Hey, Ravi, how are you? And Gagan. Oh, great. Ben, welcome.
Hello.
It's been a while, Ben. How you been?
Good. How are you?
Good. Um, Ravi, I got your link by the way the other day. I unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, I unfortunately have not taken a look at it. I was on break, but I will take a
No
look.
problem.
Yeah, how
No
did it go,
problem.
by
Nice
the
to see
way?
you again.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, hey, how are you, Sabina? And we have Matt. It's perfect. Awesome.
Hi, Brian.
Um, why don't we begin if that's okay with you guys? You guys can hear me okay? Yes? You can see me okay? Good. Awesome. First of all, guys, thank you for joining. This is great. I appreciate it. I know you guys are all busy, so thank you for being here. Second is, um, you know, the goal for this forum or this platform, whatever you want to call it, is two very simple things. Number one is hopefully for you guys to learn something new from your peers, and second is to make new friends. Right? Um, I've had the benefit, the privilege, the honor of meeting all of you one on one, and I've really enjoyed our conversations. They've been great. We've had some podcasts together. Some people I've known for a long time. Some people I've just met recently. And I was trying to figure out how can I bring all of these people together. So this is my attempt of taking our awesome conversations together and then scaling it across a whole bunch of people. So thank you for sticking around with me and thank you for experimenting. And if you guys come out of this call making new friends and learning something new, I think that's a good, at least for me, that's a good success. Um, And then third thing is, I've tried to keep I've tried to keep the format very lightweight, right? It's we have one of the CPOs present for 10 minutes about a point of view and then 20 minutes of discussion, right? And the goal is that if we do this and we get the right format, I know right now we're only doing 3 of these calls over the next 3 months. If we really hit something of value and if you guys like it, I would like to do it once a month moving forward. So if you can stick around and give me feedback of what you like, especially what you don't like, would be really appreciated. So with that being said, I want to jump right into it. I am recording this, but when I do record, it's not going to be posted out. Um, it's going to be a private link, so only you guys can have access to it. I want to make sure that we have a safe space. so that this is not going to go out on YouTube's or clips and so on and so forth. Just to keep that in mind. But with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Brian, who has agreed to be our first guinea pig. Brian's going to talk about Agile or the death of Agile and how AI is helping make that move faster. So with that being said, Brian, I'm going to hand it off to you. And then we can actually just, like I said, it's open discussion. Feel free to ask questions. Hopefully, we'll have a good discussion. Yeah. Brian, it's all you, sir.
Thanks. Hey, everybody. I'm looking at the attendee list, participants list. I actually don't know any of you. So it's nice to meet you. I have seen some of you in the podcast and or read or heard you, but haven't met you yet. So for all of you, my name's Brian Fugere. Like you, probably met Mustafa a few years ago, did his podcast a couple times. We've done some work together a couple times, and over the years have become good friends. And so I volunteered to be the guinea pig for this first one. I am a multi-time CPO and CMO, even been a CEO before, mostly in healthcare. Some other journeys out into different industries like construction and public safety, which was my last role, but mostly healthcare. And so I have had the opportunity to implement the discipline of product management, but leveraging AI in my last two companies. And as it's gotten more and more of an opportunity to drive change, I really think that we're going to see some big downstream effects, one of which I think will be the death of Agile. So I'm going to take a potentially controversial perspective today, and let's have a fun discussion. So if I can manage Zoom right, and it's been a long time since I've done that, hopefully you all can see my PowerPoint. Does that work?
Yes.
Is it full screen?
It is not full screen yet. No.
How about that?
No, but I think we can go with what you have.
Here, we'll do it this way.
So it's not presentation mode. Is that what you mean by full screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. You can see it. That's good. Let's go with that. Tells you how long it's been since I've done anything like this. Okay. Agile versus Scrum versus Kanban versus Waterfall. Has that slide changed yet?
Yes.
Okay. Because it hasn't on my screen, but we'll make do. All right. Look, we've all been doing this for a long time. We all know how these things work. Most of us use Agile in our engineering organizations, and as a result, we mirror that in product. Sometimes it's just plain old Scrum. Sometimes it's safe. Sometimes you have a mix of Kanban in there, depending upon what you want to do from a support perspective. But oh my God, nobody's ever used Waterfall anymore because that's too long, it's too hard, and you never know what you're going to get out the other end of it because it's not really what you think it's going to be. So what does product have to do in each of these? And really the product manager is where I want to focus, and the product owner, I guess, to some degree. The product manager in all of these generally defines the roadmap, generally defines the features, certainly defines requirements, and they work with the cross-functional stakeholders internally and externally to really define what's supposed to happen and make decisions around the order that things are supposed to happen. Product owners, if you use them, take those requirements and they translate them into user stories and acceptance criteria. They have that also important interaction between product and engineering at the point of creation to make sure that everybody understands what's supposed to be built. And depending upon your organization, maybe they do acceptance testing. There's other things that all of them do in each one of these different methodologies, but those are the key things, tasks that most PMs and POs have to do. However, what I've seen from now twice putting two different product teams through an AI boot camp and getting out the other side is that if you're really good with AI and you become a native AI product manager, you can do all these things in just minutes. You can create a roadmap. You can create the features and the requirements associated with them, and the user stories, and the test cases, acceptance criteria, release notes, knowledge base articles, prototypes, designs, bounce them off of digital twins, have your own personas, do focus groups, all in minutes. And so if you can do those things as a product person and as a product organization, and you're feeding engineering, do you need product owners? And do you need Agile? Because ultimately, if you're a product manager and you can define all those things, aren't we back to waterfall? Aren't we back to basically laying it all out and handing it to engineering and say, here, build this? In fact, I'm even going to go so far as to say, as a product person, I'm going to hand you a prototype that might even have code associated with it. And all you got to do is just make sure it fits within the engineering standards that your organization has. And the shift of responsibility to build, a lot of that goes to product, and the engineering processes become cheap and fast and commoditized, which just a couple years ago, we would never say that. I mean, I had an engineering organization of 600 plus engineers, and we were cranking out a ton of code and 11,000 features in a 5-year period. I mean, it was ridiculous. But going forward, that'll be nothing compared to what can be achieved with AI in engineering and the proper product organization feeding it. So that's the hypothesis for our discussion. So if I can figure out how to work Zoom again and stop sharing, which clearly I do not know how to do.
That's okay. We can keep it on, or let me see.
Yeah, we can, but I would really like to not. So anyway, let's talk about this. So does anybody have any thoughts about this, right? So I'm taking a fairly provocative statement. Our friends in engineering are going to hate me, and I really do think it's important for us to let me just close it. How's that? Did that work? Now you probably just see my background.
Let me see if I can play around with it. But while we're doing that, why don't we open it up? So first of all, Brian, thanks for doing this. But going back to Brian's question is number one is, are you guys seeing something like this happening within your product and engineering?
Yeah. What are you seeing?
Hey, Brian, this is Naveen. First of all, and thank you, Mustafa, for arranging this talk. Super insightful, Brian, what you presented.
Hey, Naveen, before we start, just quick intro so that people know who you are. So whoever speaks, by the way, just do a quick intro so that we all could get to know each other. Yeah, please.
So, sorry about it. So first of all, very nice meeting you. My name is Naveen Chungani. I'm the Senior Vice President and Chief Product Officer at ADT. Been ADT for close to 2.5 years. Prior to that, in the Palo Alto Networks and consumer products, mostly on the product side. Brian, what you have shared, things are already happening in my organization. I have also a design team. I also have the app team. So the question is, PRDs are the old days, actually. I mean, now you do prototype and you do the testing, you go from there and you hand over a lot of those code-based, because Cursor and all those things allow you the very simple thing to do that. Even the design team, sometimes I feel that you really need a big design team, the UX design team. The only question I have, do we still call them a product manager? Is an experience manager or something? I mean, the traditional way of how you think of product manager will write the PRD, market analysis, and all those kind of things. Now, things are squeezing actually in a point, as you said, that within minutes you have pretty much all prototype, and you can do A/B testing. In fact, you can do A/B testing with the virtual digital persona things, and a lot of those things can do. So to answer your first question, are we seeing that? Yes, certainly in my team, the AI clearly we're leveraging every single point, every single thing we can do that, and it's happening. So I mean, no more. We don't anymore say, okay, this is PR. This is already prototype, and as you said very well, Brian, it is already code based. It's not the perfect engineering code based, but we're handing over to the point where it looks
Right.
like. So 100% agree with this.
Yeah, that's great. Is anybody not seeing it? Let's do the opposite.
I can jump in. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, please.
Matt Waxman. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Precisely, which is a data integrity company. And I wouldn't say it's not doing this. I'd say it's a slight variation on it, which is the notion of a spec, build, and validate cycle that sort of goes in a spiral, meaning that Naveen, to your point, like a product manager now can prototype very, very quickly. They could also generate a PR FAQ very quickly that starts to outline, what's the offering, what problem are you solving, so on and so forth. Validation can happen through a digital twin, or it could be put in front of a customer. But that's sort of stage one. You then pass that through an agent to decide, is this have the business case that actually warrants putting it onto the roadmap and doing the work. And then stage two is now your spec becomes a PRD level, right? It's the next level of depth. Your build becomes, not just prototype code, but actual functional code, so on and so forth. So you can kind of imagine you iterate through it. So I think it's kind of the combination of waterfall and spiral sort of development styles to iterate in that cycle of spec, build, validate, spec, build, validate, and you can continue doing that, on and on and on. So I don't know if that's similar to what others have seen or other iterations of it, because it's such early days. I think we're all sort of discovering this at the
Very
same
much.
time.
Yeah.
Well, let me open it up to everyone else. What are you guys seeing?
Yeah,
I'll
so
just
this
have-
is Shashank. Hi, Chief Product Officer at Crowley. It's a logistics company. I have about 20 years of experience in the energy industry before this. So hey, Brian, great topic. I think it's very insightful, Naveen and Matt. Excellent points, right? Look, I think companies are going to be all over the spectrum, and some industries will adopt this faster, some industries will adopt this slower. I can speak about supply chain. We are at the slower end of the curve. I mean, we are seeing my product team is very, very energetic. They do a lot of it, but then there is a risk on the engineering side. There is jobs there, so there is, they're all looking at their own turf. So more than the technology, it's going to be a turf battle, and I think it will take some time before truly companies can adopt. So I think that's my take.
I think that turf battle is really
One
important. I want to dig into that, but before I do that, I want to open it up. Anyone else seeing something similar, something different, or a different lens on it?
I can go as well. Hi, I'm Sabina Anderson, Chief Product Officer at the State of Colorado Department of Early Childhood. So government works a little bit slower. But the interesting thing for us when we're looking at AI prototype is a lot of the AI prototype really focus on user experience, but not technology strategy. That's where we see a big discrepancy on how we create a North Star vision of where do we want to mature and evolve in the technology stack, and how do the prototypes that usually come out, they tend to skew more on the immediate problem statement for a user problem, but it's very difficult to weave in long-term technology strategy into those prototypes. That is something that we're definitely seeing as not ideal at this point. So it's almost like there is a siloed approach to solving a product manager's and a product designer's role. And then you have the engineering leader's role. And I feel like that hasn't really merged into a nice way where prototypes are coming into one.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. And you're right. Prototypes are a slice in time, right? And so how you use it and how you end up doing the handoffs matters too. And I definitely on the technology integration piece.
Can I jump on
Please.
top of that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I was
By
going
the
to
way,
follow
you
up on
guys
that.
don't need me to moderate. Please jump in.
I'm Marcy Zelmar. I am doing consulting now for product management, but I'm a former CPO. I've worked at large and small consumer brands, Sephora, Alo Yoga, so more retail focused brands. And as I'm working with clients right now, Sabina, I would echo again, because it's consumer goods, I'm finding that product and UX organizations are prototyping with their business partners up front so that they're no longer, and this is where it's super interesting of how do you get the requirements figured out, the priorities figured out up front. It seems like how they're passing off to engineering, and then engineering's having their own world of how they're using AI. They have not gone end to end yet. So they're kind of doing it in two different areas. And I asked the question, well, how do you prioritize? How do you know what matters most? Again, super interesting because she didn't have very good answers as I've talked to them about that because now it's just they're moving so fast. So that's an open question I have is like, wait, how do you know you're making the right decisions as you can do this so quickly? But that just adds on to what you're saying and a little bit of a flavor I've been seeing in some companies, smaller early stage brands.
It's interesting because I feel like there has been a deviation from how technical should a product manager be in their role in, last decades, so a couple of decades. But I feel like now it's becoming more important for a product manager to actually have technical chops to understand the ripple effects of what prototypings are going to be doing downstream.
But I think
Yes.
there's also, sorry to interrupt. I'm Jason and I run product engineering and BI for Magic Memory, so it's retail photography space. The one element I've seen too is that it's, product management's very similar to kind of the UX space, right, where everyone has opinion and they think they're all the experts on it. And I think there is the tendency as well for AI to make someone feel that they're more competent than they are, right? So product managers now think that they can be engineering managers or run engineering teams, but likewise too, marketing, CEO, et cetera. Like you'll have other stakeholders like, well, see, I wrote a PRD, I wrote a requirements document. How, why is it so difficult? Oh, and if you build a shallow prototype, well, I build a shallow prototype. Why is it taking so long to build into legacy code or actually, get long-term elements in? So I think it's twofold. It's not just PMs leveraging AI and becoming more effective, which is one flavor, but it's also other departments using AI and overloading product management to say, well, now just like with open source projects and on the engineering space where anyone can contribute the code, but where's the quality assurance coming in at, right? And so is the AI kind of helping on the quality assurance? I think it can, but it's almost like a counterpoint effectively to the deluge that comes in because now you can create more inputs than, and that's when product already is the focal point for a lot of inputs as before AI.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like product is getting democratized, much the way that code development is. So your sales people, your support people, if there's a low complex, low risk feature, why couldn't they initiate creating that on their own? Now, I think product people in the review process become really, really critical, right? To make sure you're still aligned to your strategy and so forth. But it's going to be a very different world, I think,
I
and
agree.
how this
Yeah,
gets
But I think
started.
you make a good point, both Matt and Marcy, is that you don't, instead of holding off on product just doing product, you actually allow others to do product, but then you actually have them part of the review process, which is much easier because then you're not kind of fighting the tide. But there are two fault lines that I hear, right? Number one is a fault line between product and business, and the other one is engineering and product. And all three stakeholders are doing things differently. Right?
Yeah.
And I think depending on where you are in the organization, depending on who's ahead on AI, is really driving the agenda for the others.
Well,
Is that fair?
I think those fault lines have always been there. There's always a healthy friction, right? And
Right.
And a translation layer between each of those divisions. Business
100%.
needs to translate to product needs to translate to tech, and vice versa. But yeah, it's a matter of what's the tooling, being used to bridge that.
Yeah. Matt, to your point,
one of the
I would,
point with Sabina you made,
sorry, yeah.
how technical product managers need to be. I think I'm finding you don't need to be technical with AI actually. In fact, you just need to be more logical and defining the problem statement. And so I think one thing I'm finding AI is helping because you don't need to code. In fact, there was a boot camp I did actually in some of the prototype. I said nobody's going to write the code, nobody's going to read the code, and essentially that's the power of AI. But I think Mustafa, what you're saying is that line is much more blurred now because everybody's trying to get into, and which is important actually, but at the same time, you have to figure out how do we, I mean, who has the strongest point of view and where we do. But
Yeah.
I think that somebody says democratizing the knowledge base in each other's base at some time. We have to avoid that conflict and you have to write guardrails how to protect that. Otherwise, I mean, it's no more that I can just part or do this part.
100%.
Swim lanes are now lapping.
And I think maybe I should
One-
clarify something. And I think this is also kind of the things that kind of is evolving too. I don't think that product managers needs to be technical in terms of coding, but I think that product managers should be technical or not should be, but it is helpful if product managers are taken from a technology strategy perspective. Like, is this going to, move us in the right needle to have a scalable infrastructure, to have, microservices, modular architecture, or is this going to pigeonhole us down the line in a technology stack that isn't going to scale for the future?
Actually,
Yeah,
to
so
that
one point
point,
I would like to add is, although everybody thinks they can do product management now because they have these cool AI tools, the discipline that comes,
mhm,
the way you articulate the problem and dig through the details. I see very few people in the organization have that kind of a mindset. I think that differentiates product managers from the rest of the organization, right? So I think that discipline is very required. Otherwise, they'll do half-ass job and they'll say this is what it is, but they don't really solve the problem. So I think that is one aspect I'm seeing repeatedly in our organization, at least.
well,
I
I
mean,
think
I
we're going to see it anyways. I mean, you see all this AI slop coming out from LinkedIn content. I mean, AI slop for software is just coming because everybody thinks that they can build product, right? Coming back to your point, Shashank. And then Sabina, to your point, I absolutely agree because with our clients, we actually see two trends. Number one is as coding is becoming easier and easier, they're going to need less and less people. And so some of the most strategic and smartest engineering managers are moving into product. And by doing that, and if you can actually create the right conditions by doing that, then you as a CPO can attract those people and then get both the technical depth as well as you can teach them the product management skills that Shashank is talking about. Right.
One of the things that we're running into, and I'm curious if others have found a path through this, is uh, because of all the things we're all talking about, you now have much smaller teams. So the notion of a two pizza team now is actually more like a three-person team can actually
Yes.
drive significant development. And it breaks the scaling model for product because you can't have product owners now, your team number of teams triples. You can't have product owners for all of them. How, I don't know the answer to this. I'm really genuinely curious of how others have been finding ways to scale in this new model. Like, are you still
So
having product owners that are in
yeah,
there,
so
or
I can
Um,
probably I don't have an answer, but I can share an anecdote. I'm JC Sidia. I work for Davita Kidney Care. I'm fortunate, so I'm probably odd man out here, where I'm actually driving uh, AI tech and a portion of quote unquote AI product management. This was kind of layer of product managers who are really focused around AI use cases, who are working in partnership or broader product management organization. So last year, in we when we started the conversation on what are we going to do to bring some of this tooling in so people get first-hand experience across different personas, it was an interesting debate with our chief product officer. uh, I was saying all of these teams that are average 8 to 9 people in terms of Scrum Agile are gonna shrink, and internally the notion was fist of five, like 5 people, wearing multiple hats. All these dreams, like you product managers always expected from engineering that give me full stack engineers. Don't give me QA and a BA and all of that. That is going to be reality. And therefore, my quick reaction, uneducated, was, Joel, we're going to need less of product managers. He says, no, because you're going to have more of these teams. I'm going to need more product managers. So I think your peers in my organization also are thinking through that. But I think one thing I will say, and I joined a little late, so I wasn't sure of the original question. What we are trying to do is how do you not just kind of hear about this whole forward deployed engineer construct, but how do we bring that in? And that is a trifecta. That is a business stakeholder and a actual product manager, not pretend product manager, and the technical lead. How are they working together and breaking these silos of routines and meetings that they had before? And what are their new routines where they're spending an hour prototyping and then going back and refining and then coming back? So instead of these, I don't know what is going to happen when we thought about 2 week sprints and sprint planning. That is all going to collapse. But the only way we can be successful is those three stakeholders are together and we find new routines and ways of working for them. Otherwise, it is going to be, as someone was saying, kind of battlefield of who controls what. And if wherever there are battles, I don't think many of those, we are not going to be successful if the battles
Yeah.
continue.
I'm curious. We only have about a minute left. I'm curious, has anybody reorganized or has consolidated their PMs and POs into one? Or even, I know some clients who've actually gotten rid of POs completely. So I'm
No
curious to
POs.
see what others are seeing.
No POs.
We don't have product owners anymore, Mustafa.
Yeah.
Everybody's
So
product manager in
everybody's product manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only cases I've seen that is if it's a very large org, and then effectively what happens is the PM/POs become almost more like engineering managers or almost like release managers, right? Just because you have so many multiple simultaneous streams that once you're getting into overlapping code bases and overlapping branches, then structuring and scheduling releases is really the overlap I've seen.
No, that's good. I mean, I think, listen, I know we're out of time, so if you guys want to stick around, we can. It's 12:30. If you have any, number one, you always stick around. If you actually have any feedback on how the session went, let me know. We're gonna have another one a month from now. I'll probably end up reaching out to one of you. If you guys are interested in a topic that you want to present, you want to be the second guinea pig and show how Brian to actually use Zoom. No, just kidding. I would love for you
Thank
guys
you,
to
Mustafa.
volunteer. Yeah. So
Hey, Mustafa, have you thought about maybe creating a Slack channel or something with everyone, and we could
I
share
am thinking about doing it. I
online?
may end up doing Slack or maybe a LinkedIn because I think probably you guys all may want to connect on LinkedIn, so that might be easier. So again, I'm just experimenting like you guys are. So I will do that. I'll probably end up doing at least some kind of a LinkedIn group so that we can actually just share stuff. Right? That might be a better option. But yes, we can do Slack as well. Anything. So number one, I'm happy to continue the conversation, but any other kind of feedback, at least for the first session, what worked, what didn't work, what we can do better, especially what we can do better.
I would just say one element. I don't know if Zoom has it, but the ability to just kind of like raise hands or kind of go kind of flag
Oh yes.
who to talk
Okay.
next would be a helpful item, I'd say.
I think that's a good one. Yes, a little bit of organization. Yeah, I think that's good. I know Jay and a bunch of people had to drop, so thank you.
And actually, if
Anything
we're only
else?
doing it once a month, I think we can make it an hour. I think it's so valuable to get the perspectives of others. Even if you have to drop off early, it just seems like the fact that some had to jump off, like just to a month in advance, block the time, I think would be helpful.
Okay. We can do an hour
Or
too. I
45
just want to be
minutes, or just a
conscious
little
of time.
longer. Yeah, a
Yeah.
little longer.
I don't know what you guys think about spending an hour on this. You guys will stuck with me for an hour. So
Yep, all for it.
Yep.
yeah. We can try different formats, we can try a different time. Let me see, let me play around with it. And we can go from there. And you guys can give me feedback. Anything else that we can do differently or better?
seemed to be working. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I think that I liked having something to start it and then having the conversation because it went a lot of different paths, which I actually think was
Yes,
good.
which is the whole point. And I
It was
know
good.
we kind of, I mean, we went through so many different paths, which is great, right? Because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of tension between engineering and product. I think, Matt, your question was right on, because I think a lot of people are struggling with just that, right? And what's happening with the POs. I think, Sabina, to your question about being tech forward and being a bit more tech strategic is really key as we move forward. So I think these are good things, and I'm trying to figure out how we can actually even drill down on each one of these pieces, right? But maybe those are good conversations for the next topic, right? So I don't know, Matt, Sabina, if you guys want to raise your hand and volunteer for the next topic, I would love for you guys to do that. Well, both Jason and Marcy as well. So I won't put you on spot right here.
I don't know if I'm going to be the best person to speak on it because it's something that I'm trying to figure out at the same time. I'm like,
That's the point. I'm hoping that this does not come off as people saying, I've figured this out. I'm hoping that this forum is more like, I'm trying to figure this out. And here I have a bunch of people, my peers, who can give me different perspectives. Think of this as your own LLM, but in real life with real people.
Or funny enough, it's similar to Agile, which no one's quite figured it out, and everyone has a different version of how they do it.
Yes. Agile has been always a pain. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do Agile well. So I think Agile is going to go. Actually, one of the conversations, one of the topics potentially is what comes after Agile.
Yeah.
Right? Because we will need a process and we'll need a framework. And a framework that can be sustainable in this world in which things that took forever take minutes, but then things like making decisions and judgment, which is really what you guys were referring to, like how do you choose what to build, how to choose not to build, it'll take more time, right? And how do you build that in? So
Another interesting topic, maybe in a future session, would be talking about tools. Because,
yes.
for example, we're like gonna eliminate AHA and Jira and like because now with agents and stuff, we can do so much more of this stuff without, my view is no one should ever log into a tool again. So it'd be interesting to have that discussion.
Matt, I would love for that discussion to happen. Would you like to, you and I can talk about this later. If you have 30 minutes, let's explore that together. Is that okay?
Yep.
Also,
Yeah.
really curious to hear how people are navigating API first and MCP for kind of like next generation of product development.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Sabina, you and I have just earned 30 minutes, if that's okay with you.
I'm gonna drop off.
Well,
Thanks,
I want to
everyone.
know how everyone else is dealing with it because I'm like, this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's do that. Matt, I like both the topics because I think both topics are, and maybe there's a chance to maybe even bring them together because we are talking about tools and how we do integration, right? And the organization piece. There's a whole bunch of things I took notes on are potential deep dives that we can do. And by the way, I also don't want this to be AI only focused, right? I want it to just expand to all the challenges CPOs have. We just ended up starting with this because I love AI. I can talk about this till the cows come home. But I do want it to be opened up to everything else. So it does not have to be just this. Couple things that, as I was talking to people about this stuff, and you guys can tell me if any of this resonates, is number one is how can CPOs get onto to more boards, right? Nothing to do with AI, but I know a lot of CPOs are thinking about doing that. So I think that's a potential topic. How do you respond to an engineering organization that's way ahead in AI and you're not? Because I know there's some people who are struggling with that. There's a whole bunch of challenges that we can talk about, and I just want to go deep into each challenge. So as you come through challenges, think about it, send me a note, and we'll figure out if you want to talk about it, or we get a group of people to talk about it, we can do it that way. Yeah. Okay. Brian, by the way, thank you very much for being the
Yeah,
first.
it was good. It was fun.
I appreciate that. I know I made fun of you, but I can make
No,
fun.
I would make fun of me too.
Matt and
Thanks,
Sabina,
everyone.
thank you for sticking around. Matt, I will send you a quick
Okay,
I'll send you a quick link. Or
sounds great.
if you have 2 seconds, I can look at my calendar now and we can set something up.
Sure.
Okay. Sabina, thank you very much. Yeah.
How is next Friday in the afternoon?
The 24th
Yeah.
is perfect.
Okay.
Let's do the 24th. What time? Matt, are you Bay Area too?
I'm East Coast.
You're East Coast. Okay, so you're 3 hours ahead.
Yeah,
What
but I
time
can do like
works?
if you want to do like 4 o'clock on the 24th.
4 o'clock your time?
Yeah.
4 o'clock would be
1 yours.
4 o'clock would be 1 p.m. my time. Yes, I can do
Yeah.
that. How
Okay.
about I send you a quick invite?
Sounds good.
And I think that would be great. I actually think that I actually like both the questions you asked. I just wish we had gone deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. Not enough time,
But that's okay.
Yeah.
For now, I'm gonna try to keep it. I like Marcy's comment about making it an hour, but I want to perfect the 30 minutes first.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah,
go
go for it.
from and always leave
It'd be
people asking for
interesting.
more as
I
opposed
don't know
to killing.
if you're thinking about this, but I see you have the note taker on. Like if you like imagine you do this for 6 months or something, right? And you dump all the transcripts into pick your favorite LLM, can you start to basically develop a best practices, you know, sort of
Why
guide
not?
on that? Because now it's amassed from multiple different industries and different
Yes.
size companies, and it's
No, that's a great idea. I was planning to send out a short synopsis without people's names, of course, about the things or the key bullets or key things that we talked about, just so that people can, especially for people who missed it. But I like the idea about historically,
yeah.
which I think is great too, because I think you'll get a lot of insights.
Right. Yeah.
It was good.
Good.
Awesome.
Great. Good
All
to
right,
see you
I'll
again.
send you a note out. I'll
Okay.
send you a calendar invite out shortly, and then let's talk about it. And like I said, I don't want it to be heavy. I just want it to be just some prep, right? Like
Yep.
2 or 3 things about what's top of mind, and that's it. And it doesn't have to be slides either. We can just start the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds great. Happy to
Awesome.
do it.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much, sir. I
Thanks.
appreciate that.
Talk soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.